There is a book that was never written by any human hand. According to an ancient tradition older than almost any story we still tell, it was written in heaven by the finger of an angel and carried down to the very first man on the loneliest night of his life. They say it held the secrets of creation itself, the names by which the world was made, the order of the stars, and the movements of the heavens, and the hidden reasons behind the turning of the seasons, the knowledge of every living thing, and the words that could heal, and the deep understanding that had belonged to the angels alone, all of it given to a single broken man standing outside a gate that had closed behind him forever. Why would heaven give its deepest secrets to the one who had just been cast out of paradise? What did the angel Raziel carry down through the dark to place in the hands of Adam? Why did the other angels, when they learned of it, grow troubled and afraid and try to take the book and destroy it? And how did this book, hidden and forbidden, survive to pass from Adam to Enoch, and from Enoch to Noah, and at last into the hands of Solomon the king? Tonight we are going to open its pages together. You do not need to watch. You do not need to follow every word or remember any of it in the morning. The images before you are only here to keep you gentle company. Just close your eyes, let your body grow heavy against the bed, let your breathing slow, and let this ancient story carry you back to the first days of the world, to a man weeping in the dark, and the light that came down to find him. This is the Book of Raziel. Who was Adam in the days after Eden? To understand the book, you must first understand the man it was given to and the night he received it. For this is not really a story about magic, or secrets, or power. It is a story about mercy. And to feel the mercy, you have to first feel the sorrow it came to answer. When Adam and Eve were sent out of the garden, the gate closed behind them, and the world on the other side was nothing like the world they had left. In the garden there had been no hunger, no cold, no fear, no toil. There had been the presence of God, near and warm, walking with them in the cool of the evening. There had been peace so complete that they had never even known it had a name, because they had never known its absence. And then, in a single day, all of it was gone. The gate was shut. An angel with a flaming sword was set to guard the way back, so that no path remained. And Adam, who had been formed by the very hands of God and filled with the breath of God, found himself standing in a hard and thorny land, under a wide and indifferent sky, with the woman he loved beside him and nothing but loss in front of them both. The old traditions tell us that Adam grieved as no man has grieved since, because no man since has ever had so much to lose, or remembered so clearly what perfection had felt like. He did not grieve the way we grieve, softened by the knowledge that sorrow is simply part of life. For Adam, sorrow was new. He had tasted a world without it, and now he had to learn, hour by hour, what it was to live inside it. Every ache was the first of its kind, every fear had never been felt before. And underneath it all was the one wound that would never fully close, the memory of the nearness of God, and the silence where that nearness used to be. He wept, the traditions say, for a long time. He fell to his knees in the dust that he had been made from, and he pressed his hands into the cold ground, and he wept for the garden, and for the voice he could no longer hear, and for the terrible thing he had done that could never be undone. He did not make excuses. He did not blame the woman, or the serpent, or heaven. He simply knelt in the dark and let the full weight of what had happened fall upon him, and he wept beneath it. And here is the thing that the whole story turns upon. Adam did not curse God. In all his grief, he did not turn his face away from heaven. He turned it toward heaven. Broken, ashamed, cast out, with every reason to believe that God had finished with him forever, Adam still lifted his eyes to the sky and longed for the one he had lost. He repented. Not with clever words, but with his whole body bowed in the dirt. And that longing, that stubborn reaching of a fallen man back toward the God who had every right to leave him, is what heaven saw. That is what heaven answered. Why would heaven answer a fallen man? Here we come to the question that the angels themselves would soon be asking. The question that troubles the whole story and gives it its power. Why would God answer him at all? Think of it the way the heavens must have thought of it. Adam had been given everything. He had been given a garden, a companion, a body without decay, and the daily presence of God himself. He had been given a single command, one boundary, one tree to leave untouched, and he had crossed it. He had reached for the one forbidden thing and taken it, and in doing so he had broken the trust between heaven and earth and let death and sorrow into a world that had known neither. By every measure of justice, his story should have been over. The gate was shut. That should have been the end. But the old traditions tell us that as Adam knelt weeping in the dust, something moved in the heart of God, not a change of law, not a reversal of the judgment, for the gate remained closed and the sword still turned. Something deeper and stranger than that, compassion, the compassion of a maker for the work of his own hands. The tenderness of a father who watches his child suffer the consequences of a choice, and who cannot stop loving the child even as the consequences unfold. For God looked at Adam and did not only see the one who had failed him, he saw the one he had formed from the dust with his own hands. He saw the creature he had breathed his own life into. He saw, beneath the shame and the sorrow, the longing that had not died, the reaching that had not stopped. And the old traditions say that God resolved in that moment to do a thing that justice did not require and that the angels would never have expected. He resolved to send help, not to undo the exile, for that could not be undone, but to make it bearable, to give the fallen man something to hold in the darkness, to send down into the hard new world a piece of the light that had been lost. And this is the first great comfort of the whole book, and it is one worth carrying down into your own rest tonight. The mercy of God is not earned, and it is not deserved, and it does not wait for us to fix what we have broken. It comes down to us precisely where we are broken. It finds us in the dust. It answers not our success, but our longing. Adam did nothing to deserve what was about to be given to him. He only wept and reached and refused to stop reaching. And heaven, watching, was moved. So if you are lying in the dark tonight with your own losses, your own closed gates, your own things that cannot be undone, hear this and let it quiet you. The reaching is enough. The longing is heard. Mercy is already on its way down. Who was the angel called Raziel when God resolved to send help to Adam? The old traditions tell us that he chose a particular angel for the task, and the choice was not random. He chose the one angel above all others who was fit to carry such a gift because of where that angel stood and what that angel heard. His name was Raziel, and the name itself tells you everything, for Raziel means the secret of God, or the one who knows the secret of God. And he was called that for a reason. Among all the countless angels of heaven, arranged in their orders and their choirs, each with its own place and its own task, Raziel stood in a place of extraordinary nearness. The traditions say that he stood close by the throne of God, closer than almost any other, near the very curtain of glory behind which the deepest counsels of heaven are kept. And standing there so near, Raziel heard things. He heard the words that God spoke in the making of the world. He heard the reasons behind the reasons. He understood the hidden architecture of creation, the way the whole vast machinery of heaven and earth had been designed and set turning. He knew the names by which each thing had been called into being, and the powers that held the stars in their courses, and the secret sympathies that bind all living things together. He was the keeper of the knowledge that stands behind the visible world, the angel who understood not only what God had made, but how and why. Imagine such a being. Not a creature of flesh, but of light and understanding. One who had never known ignorance, never guessed, never wandered in the dark the way we wander, because he stood where the answers themselves were spoken. He carried within him a knowledge so vast and so deep that no human mind could hold even a corner of it. And it was this angel, of all the angels of heaven, that God chose to send down to a weeping man in the dust outside a closed garden. Consider what that means. God did not send Adam a small comfort. He did not send a lesser messenger with a lesser gift. He reached for the deepest knowledge in all of heaven, the secret understanding kept nearest to his own throne, and he chose to share a measure of it with the one who had fallen. That is not the act of a God who is finished with someone. That is the act of a God who is only just beginning with them. The night the angel came, the old traditions do not tell us exactly how many days Adam wept before the answer came. Perhaps it was many. Grief keeps its own time, and the nights outside Eden were long. But they tell us that at last, on one particular night, when Adam had wept himself past words and lay in the darkness with nothing left in him but the ache of his longing, the sky above him began to change. At first it was only a light, far off, high up, faint as a distant star that had not been there a moment before, and then it grew. It came nearer and brighter, and Adam, lifting his tear-stained face from the ground, saw that it was descending. It was coming down out of the heights of heaven, down through the dark air, toward the very place where he lay. And as it came, the cold, hard land around him was touched with a warmth it had not felt since the gate had closed, a gentle golden light spreading across the thorns and the stones. And Adam knew with a certainty that went deeper than thought that this was not a thing of the earth. This was from above, this was from home. The light came to rest before him, and within it stood a figure, tall and shining and calm, with a stillness about it that was itself a kind of comfort. It was the angel Raziel. And Adam, who had once walked with God and knew the presence of heaven when he felt it, did not run and was not afraid. He simply knelt where he was and looked up and waited, hardly daring to hope. And the angel spoke to him. The traditions say the voice was gentle, without any reproach in it, without any weight of judgment. It did not come to scold Adam for the garden. It did not come to remind him of his failure. It came, the old book says, because his prayer had been heard. Because his weeping had risen up through all the layers of heaven and reached the throne of God, and God had not turned away. The angel had been sent to tell him that he was not abandoned, that the God he had not lost him. That even here, even now, even outside the gate, in the dust of a fallen world, he was still known, and still loved, and still held. And then Raziel placed into the hands of Adam a book. The traditions describe it in different ways, but always as something radiant, something not of this world, its pages holding a light of their own. And the angel told him that this book contained the secrets he would need, not to return to the garden, for that way was shut, but to live in the world outside it, to understand the creation he now had to survive in, to know the workings of the heavens and the earth, the seasons and the stars, the herbs that heal and the times that turn, and above all, to find his way through all the long years ahead, back toward the presence of the God he had lost. The book was a lamp given to a man who had to walk a very long way in the dark. Rest here for a moment before we open the book itself. Feel the shape of what has happened. A man wept in the dust, certain he had been abandoned, and heaven came down to find him. Not with punishment, but with a gift. Not with a closed door, but with a lamp for the road. That is where this story begins, and it is a good place to let your own thoughts grow quiet tonight. Whatever gate has closed behind you, whatever dark you are lying in, the same heaven that bent down to Adam bends down still. You are not abandoned. You never were. Let that settle over you now, soft and warm as the light that came down through the dark. And when you are ready, we will open the book and see what an angel wrote for a fallen man to read. Part 2. What was written in the Book of Raziel? When Adam opened the book that the angel had placed in his hands, the traditions tell us that he found within it things that no mortal eye had ever been meant to see. It was not a book of stories, it was not a book of laws, it was something stranger and deeper than either. It was a book of the secret workings of everything. On its pages, they say, was written the knowledge of creation itself, not merely that God had made the heavens and the earth, which any soul might feel by looking up at the stars, but how, the order in which the world had been called into being. The words that had been spoken over the light and the waters and the dry land, the hidden design beneath the visible world, the way a great house has a frame of timber and stone beneath its painted walls that the eye never sees but that holds everything up. Adam was given in that book a glimpse of the frame beneath the world. There was written in it the knowledge of the heavens, the names and the courses of the stars, the way they wheel across the sky in their appointed seasons, the reasons behind the turning of the year, the movements of the sun and the moon and the great slow procession of the constellations. For a man who now had to live by the seasons, to plant and to harvest, to know when the rains would come and when the cold, this was not idle knowledge, it was survival. The garden had needed no calendar, for in the garden it was always the gentle season of God. But outside the gate, a man had to learn to read the sky, and the book taught him how. There was written in it the knowledge of living things, the natures of the beasts and the birds, the herbs of the field and the trees of the forest, which plants could heal and which could harm, which roots gave strength and which gave sleep. In a world that had suddenly become dangerous, where sickness and weakness and pain were now possible, this knowledge was mercy made practical. It meant that Adam and his children would not be left helpless before every fever and every wound. The book was, among other things, the first book of healing, and the traditions say that much of the old wisdom of medicine traces back, thread by thread, to what an angel wrote for a fallen man to read. And there was written in it the deepest thing of all, the knowledge of the holy names, and the orders of the angels, and the structure of the heavens rising one above another toward the throne of God. The book contained a map of the unseen world. It showed which angels stood watch over which parts of creation, and how the layers of heaven were arranged, and by what sacred names the powers of the world could be called upon and understood. It was, in a sense, a way back. Not a way back into the garden, but a way back into relationship, a way for a man cut off from the daily presence of God to still reach toward that presence, to still understand it, to still draw near. You can begin to see why such a book would be both a gift and a danger. In the hands of a humble and reverent man, it was a lamp, lighting the long road home, But knowledge like that, the knowledge of the secret names and the hidden workings of creation, is a heavy thing to carry. It could be used to draw near to God, or it could be used to grasp at power that no creature was ever meant to hold. The book was pure. What men would one day do with its knowledge was another matter, and the traditions are honest about that danger. But for now, in the hands of Adam, weeping and grateful and humbled by his fall, it was exactly what it was meant to be. It was a mercy. It was a light. How Adam first used the secrets, the traditions tell us that Adam did not seize upon the book greedily, the way a man might grasp at power. He received it the way a grieving man receives an unexpected kindness, with trembling and with tears. He studied it slowly, reverently, in the long nights of his exile, and the first thing it gave him was not power at all. It was understanding, and with understanding came a kind of peace. For the world outside the gate had seemed at first like chaos, a hard and senseless place of thorns and cold and fear. But as Adam read the book, he began to see that even this fallen world was not without order. The stars still kept their courses, the seasons still turned in their appointed times, the herbs still grew according to their kinds, each with its purpose. Beneath the apparent cruelty of the world outside Eden, there was still a design, still a wisdom, still the fingerprints of the same God who had made the garden. And that discovery, the traditions say, comforted Adam more than anything since the gate had closed. For it meant that he had not been cast out into nothing. He had been cast out into a world that God had still made, still ordered, still held. He was in exile, but he was not in a wilderness beyond the reach of heaven. God was here too, written into the very frame of things if only a man had eyes to read it. And so Adam began to live. He used the knowledge of the seasons to know when to plant. He used the knowledge of the herbs to tend the sicknesses that now came. He used the knowledge of the holy names to pray, to reach upward through the layers of heaven toward the God he had lost. And though he could not walk with God as he once had, he found that he could still speak to him, still be heard, still be answered in the quiet ways that heaven answers. The book did not give Adam back his innocence, nothing could, but it gave him a way to live faithfully in a fallen world, and that, the traditions suggest, is the most any of us are given, and it is enough. Why were the angels troubled, but not everyone in heaven was glad of the gift? And here the story takes a turn that is strange and revealing and worth sitting with, because it holds up a mirror to something in every heart. The traditions tell us that when the other angels learned what had been done, that the deepest secrets of heaven, the knowledge kept nearest the throne, had been written into a book and handed down to a man, and not merely to a man but to the very man who had just fallen, who had broken the one command he was given, who had let death into the world. Some of them were troubled. Some of them, the old book says, were even angry or afraid. And they came in effect with a protest. Is this right, they asked. Is this just? We have served faithfully since before the world was made. We have never crossed a single boundary, never broken a single trust. And these secrets, which even we hold in awe, are given not to us but to him, to the one who failed. Why should the fallen creature of dust be given what the faithful servants of heaven were never given? Do you hear the ache in that question? It is the oldest ache there is. It is the ache of the older brother who kept every rule, watching the father run to embrace the younger son who broke them all. It is the quiet resentment of the one who did everything right, watching mercy be poured out on the one who did everything wrong. And the traditions do not pretend the angels were simply wicked to feel it. They felt it because there is something in it that seems, on the surface, entirely fair. Why should the one who fell be given the light, when the ones who never fell were not? And some of the angels, the traditions say, did more than protest. Some of them resolved to take the book back, to take it out of the hands of Adam, and to hide it, or to destroy it, so that the secrets of heaven would not remain in the possession of a fallen man. And so in the night they came down, and they took the book from Adam, and they carried it away, and they cast it into the depths of the sea, into the great waters, where they believed it would be lost forever, sunk beyond any reach, buried under the deep. Imagine Adam waking to find it gone. The one comfort he had been given, the lamp for his long road, taken from him in the dark. Imagine the return of that first despair, the fear that heaven had changed its mind after all, that the mercy had been withdrawn, that he was to be left in the darkness after all. The traditions say he wept again and prayed again, and this time his prayer was not for himself but for the gift, that the mercy which had been shown him would not be undone, the book that would not stay lost. And here is where the story reveals its deepest truth, the truth that makes the Book of Raziel more than a tale of secret knowledge. For God did not allow the book to remain lost. The traditions tell us that God commanded the great angel of the deep, the power that rules over the waters, to descend into the depths of the sea, to find the book where it had been cast down, and to bring it up again, and to return it to the hands of Adam. Read that slowly and let it sink into you, because it is the heart of the whole thing. The gift was given in mercy. Others, out of jealousy and fear, tried to take it back and bury it in the deepest place they could find. And God reached down into that deepest place and brought it up again and gave it back. The mercy would not stay buried. The light would not stay drowned. What God had given in love, no jealousy in heaven or on earth could finally take away. And is that not the thing your own heart most needs to hear tonight? That the good gifts of God are not so easily lost as we fear. That when the mercy shown to us seems to be snatched away, buried, drowned in some deep place where we are sure it can never be recovered, God is able to reach into that very deep and bring it up again. Adam lost the book, and it was returned to him. The traditions even say that this happened more than once, that the gift was taken and restored, as if God were teaching Adam and teaching us, a lesson he wanted us never to forget. What I have given you in love, I will not let be taken from you. It may be lost for a night. It will not be lost forever. Reach for it again in the morning. It will be there. So rest now, and let that promise hold you as you drift towards sleep. Whatever good thing you feel has been taken from you, whatever mercy you fear has sunk beyond recovery, remember the book that would not stay lost. Remember the God who reached into the deep to bring it back. The gift is not gone. It is only in the deep for a while, and the same hand that gave it is already reaching down to return it to you. Let your breathing slow. Let the fear of loss grow quiet. What God has given you, God will keep. And in the next part of our story, we will follow that book down through the generations, from the hands of Adam to the hands of the man who walked with God and did not die. Part 3. How did the book pass from Adam to those who came after? Adam lived a very long life. The old accounts give him many hundreds of years, longer than we can easily imagine, long enough to see his children grow, and their children after them, until the earth began to fill with the sons and daughters of the first man. And through all those long years, the traditions tell us, Adam kept the book, he guarded it, he studied it, and as he grew old, he began to think about what would become of it when he was gone. For Adam understood something about the gift he had been given. He understood that it was not meant for him alone. The knowledge in the book was a lamp, and a lamp is not lit to be hidden. It was meant to be passed on, hand to hand, down through the generations, so that his children and his children's children would not have to walk the dark road entirely without light. But he also understood, better than anyone who had ever lived, how dangerous the knowledge could be in the wrong hands. He had learned, at the cost of paradise itself, what happens when knowledge is grasped at greedily, when a creature reaches for what it is not yet ready to hold. And so he resolved that the book would not simply be handed down to anyone. It would be entrusted only to those who were worthy of it, only to the ones who loved God, who walked humbly, who would use the light to draw nearer to heaven and not to grasp at power for themselves. And so began the long journey of the book down through the generations. It did not pass to the strongest of Adam's descendants, nor the cleverest, nor the ones who most desired it. It passed quietly, from a faithful father to a faithful son, along a hidden thread of godly men who kept the old wisdom alive while the rest of the world went its own way. It was a secret inheritance, handed down in trust, each keeper teaching the next not only what the book contained but how to hold it, with what reverence, with what fear of God. And in this way the lamp was kept burning, generation after generation, through years of which we know almost nothing, until it came at last into the hands of a man whose name has never been forgotten, a man who would become the most famous keeper of the book in all the long history of the world. His name was Enoch. Who was Enoch, and why did the book find him? Enoch was the seventh from Adam, which is to say he stood near the beginning of the world, only a handful of generations removed from the garden itself. And of all the men of those early days, the traditions single him out as something rare, for while the world around him was growing darker, growing more violent and more forgetful of God, Enoch went the other way. He grew closer to God, not further, but closer, not more forgetful, but more devoted. In the midst of a crooked and darkening generation, Enoch walked with God. That is the phrase the old scriptures use for him, and it is a strange and beautiful phrase. It does not say that Enoch obeyed God, though surely he did. It does not say that Enoch feared God, though surely he did that too. It says that Enoch walked with God, as a man walks beside a friend, in quiet and constant companionship, day after day, year after year. There was an intimacy in it, a nearness. In a world that had lost the daily presence of God when the gate of Eden closed, Enoch somehow found his way back into something like that presence, not by returning to the garden, but by walking so faithfully and so closely with God that heaven itself drew near to him. And it was to this man the traditions tell us that the Book of Raziel came. It came to him because he was worthy of it, because his heart was the kind of heart the book had always been meant for. Enoch did not want the book for power. He did not want to bend the world to his will, or to make himself great, or to grasp at secrets for the thrill of possessing them. He wanted only what he had always wanted, to know God more, to walk more closely, to understand the one he loved. And so when the ancient book came into his hands, with all its knowledge of the heavens and the holy names and the hidden workings of creation, Enoch received it the way it was always meant to be received, as a doorway, as a way to draw nearer still. How did Enoch become the scribe of heaven? The traditions tell us that Enoch studied the book with a devotion no one had shown since Adam himself. He pored over its pages in the long nights. He learned the courses of the stars and the reasons behind the seasons. He learned the names and the orders of the angels, the structure of the heavens rising level upon level toward the throne of God. And the more he learned, the more he understood, and the more he understood, the more he worshipped, for the knowledge did not puff him up, it bowed him down. Every secret he uncovered showed him a God greater and wiser and more glorious than he had known before. The book did not make Enoch proud, it made him humble, and that, the traditions say, is the surest sign that a soul is fit to hold such knowledge. The false student of the mysteries grows arrogant and imagines himself a master. The true student grows small and worships, and because Enoch walked so closely with God and understood so much of the hidden things, the traditions tell us that he was given a task above all other men. He became a scribe, not merely a scribe of the earth, copying and preserving the old wisdom, though he did that too, but a scribe of heaven itself. For Enoch, they say, was permitted to see things no living man had seen, and his task was to write them down so that they would not be lost. He wrote of the workings of the heavens. He wrote of the ordering of the seasons and the years. He wrote of righteousness and of judgment, of the fate of the faithful and the fate of the wicked. He became the pen of heaven, the hand that set down in words the things that God wanted remembered, so that generations far in the future, generations like our own, might read them and be warned and be comforted. Think of what a strange honor that was. A man of dust, a descendant of the one who had fallen, entrusted with the task of writing down the secrets of heaven. It is the same mercy we saw at the very beginning, the mercy that gave the book to Adam, now flowering into something even greater. God did not merely give his secrets to fallen men to read. He invited a fallen man to help write them down. He made a partner of the creature of dust. And that is the pattern of God's dealing with us throughout all the ages. He does not keep his distance from the fallen. He draws them close. He does not merely forgive them. He gives them work to do in his own house. Enoch was not just a reader of the mysteries. He became a keeper and a writer of them, a friend of God trusted with the family papers. What did Enoch understand that others did not? There was one thing above all that Enoch understood, and it is the thing the traditions most want us to learn from him. Enoch understood what the knowledge was for. The book contained power. There is no use pretending otherwise. To know the secret names, to understand the hidden workings of creation, to grasp the courses of the heavens and the natures of all things, is to hold a kind of power that most men never dream of. And power, once tasted, has a way of becoming an end in itself. The man who learns a secret begins to want another. The man who bends one small thing to his will begins to want to bend larger things. This is the oldest temptation there is. It is the very temptation that emptied the garden, the whisper that said you shall be as gods, knowing all things, mastering all things, needing no one above you. But Enoch never fell into it. And the reason, the traditions say, is that Enoch never forgot that the knowledge was a gift, and that a gift points back to the giver. Every secret he learned, he received as a further reason to love and to worship the God who had made all these wonders and had chosen in mercy to share them. He never let the gift eclipse the giver. He never let the map replace the country. He used the knowledge of the heavens not to climb up and seize a throne, but to walk more humbly and more gratefully beside the God he loved. And because of that, the traditions tell us, Enoch was given the greatest honor ever given to a mortal man up to that time. He did not die. God took him. One day he was walking with God, as he had always walked, and the next he was simply gone, carried up out of the world of the living into the world above, taken into the very presence he had spent his whole life drawing near to. And there is the lesson of Enoch, and it is worth carrying down into your own rest. The same knowledge that can puff a man up can also bow him down. The same gifts that can be grasped for power can also be received with gratitude. What makes the difference is not the gift. It is the heart that holds it. Enoch held the deepest secrets in all the world, and they made him not proud but humble, not grasping but grateful, not distant from God but nearer to him than any man alive. May the good things you have been given do the same in you. May every gift point you back to the giver. May all that you know and all that you have make you not harder but softer, not prouder but more grateful, until you too walk so closely with God that heaven itself feels near. The book had passed from Adam to Enoch, and Enoch had used it as it was meant to be used, and then Enoch was taken up. But the book remained on the earth, for the earth still needed it, and the days were coming, the traditions tell us, when it would be needed more than ever, for the world was growing dark, and a judgment was coming, a great flood of waters that would wash the old world away. And the book, and the wisdom in it, would have to survive the flood in the hands of one righteous man, if the light was not to go out of the world entirely. That man was Noah, and his story, and the book that rode out the flood with him, is where we will go next. But for now, let your thoughts grow still. Let the image of Enoch quiet your heart, the man who walked so closely with God that death could not find him. Breathe slowly, rest deeply, and let the story carry you gently on. Part 4. How did the book survive a darkening world? After Enoch was taken up, the world went on, and the world grew worse. The traditions and the old scriptures agree on this, that in the generations after Enoch the earth filled with violence and forgetfulness, that men grew hard and cruel, that the memory of God faded from all but a faithful few. It was a darkening age, an age in which the old wisdom was in danger of being lost entirely, not because it was taken by force, but because there was almost no one left who cared to keep it. But the light was not allowed to go out. The book passed down, quietly, along the same hidden thread of faithful men it had always followed, from keeper to keeper, each one guarding it through his own dark generation and handing it on to the next. And at last, in the final generation before the judgment, it came into the hands of a man who stood almost alone in his goodness, a man who, like Enoch before him, walked with God in a world that had forgotten how. His name was Noah. Noah was, the scriptures tell us, a righteous man, blameless in his generation, a man who walked with God when almost no one else would. And because of this, when God resolved to cleanse the earth of its violence with a great flood and to begin the world again, it was Noah he chose to carry the future through the waters. Noah and his family and the living creatures gathered 2 by 2, and, the traditions tell us, the book. For the wisdom of Adam and Enoch was not to be drowned with the old world, it was to ride out the flood and to come through to the other side and to seed the new world with the old light. How did the book help Noah build the ark? The traditions tell us something remarkable about how Noah accomplished the great task that was given to him. For consider what he was asked to do. He was told to build a vessel unlike anything that had ever been built, a great ark of enormous size, able to float upon a flood that would cover the whole earth, able to hold his family and pairs of every kind of living creature, able to keep them all alive through a year of waters. No man had ever done such a thing. No man had ever needed to. Where would a man even begin? How would he know the measurements, the materials, the way to seal it against the water, the way to order the creatures within it, the way to store food enough for so many for so long? The traditions say that Noah did not have to figure it out alone. The traditions say that the answers were in the book. For the Book of Raziel, remember, contained the knowledge of the workings of the world, the natures of all living things, the understanding of measurement and season and craft. And so Noah, they say, opened the ancient book, the book that had come down to him from Enoch and from Adam, and in it he found the wisdom he needed. He learned the proportions that would make the great vessel float and hold together. He learnt the natures of the creatures, so that he would know how to gather them and how to keep them, which needed what, which could dwell near which, how to feed and tend so vast and strange a household. He learnt to read the seasons and the signs of the sky, so that he would know when the waters were coming, and when they would begin to go down, and when at last it would be safe to open the door and step out onto a washed and empty earth. Do you see what the old story is telling us? It is telling us that the mercy first shown to Adam, the lamp given to a weeping man outside a closed gate, was still burning generations later, and that it was the very thing that carried the future of the whole human race safely through the flood. The gift that jealous angels had once tried to drown in the sea now rode out upon the greatest sea the world had ever known, and it did not sink, and it was not lost. The book that would not stay lost survived even the drowning of the world. And through it, through the wisdom an angel had written for a fallen man, the light of the old world was carried across the dark waters into the new. The book that came through the waters picture the ark upon the flood. The whole earth is water now, grey and endless, the old world gone beneath it, every mountain covered, every city drowned, every trace of the violence and the forgetfulness washed away. And upon that endless grey water floats a single wooden vessel, dark against the pale sky, holding within it everything that will become the future, Noah and his family, the breeding pairs of every living kind, and somewhere within, kept dry and safe, the ancient book, its pages holding the light of Eden, carried by the last righteous man across the drowning of the world. There is something almost unbearably tender in that image if you sit with it. Everything that God had made and everything that God had given, reduced to a single small vessel on an endless sea, and yet not lost, not abandoned, not forgotten, held, carried, kept. The old world had earned its judgment, and the judgment came, and it was terrible. But even in the midst of the judgment, mercy was riding out the storm in a wooden box, keeping the light alive for the morning that would come after. For the flood was not the end of the story. The waters went down, the dove returned with a leaf, the door opened, and Noah stepped out onto a new earth, washed and quiet and full of possibility, carrying with him the wisdom of the old world, ready to begin again. And is that not a picture worth holding as you drift towards sleep? That even when a whole world seems to be drowning, the things that God means to keep are kept. That mercy has a way of building an ark, of carrying what matters through the flood, of bringing the light out the other side into a new morning. Whatever floods have come over your own life, whatever has seemed to drown, remember the book that came through the waters. Remember that God is in the business of carrying his good things through the storm and setting them down again on dry land. The waters do not have the final word. The morning after the flood does, and it is coming. Where did the book go after the flood, when the world began again? The book began its long journey again with it. From Noah it passed to his sons, and from his sons down through the new generations of the earth, following once more the hidden thread of the faithful, the ones who kept the old wisdom and honored the God who gave it. The traditions tell us that it was treasured and guarded and handed down with great care, for now it was more precious than ever. It was not merely a gift from heaven, it was a survivor. It had come through the fall, and through the jealousy of the angels, and through the drowning of the world, and it had not been lost. It carried within it not only the knowledge of creation, but the memory of everything, a thread of unbroken light running all the way back to the hand of an angel and the tears of the first man. And down that long thread of years the book made its way toward the one man who, after Adam and Enoch and Noah, is most remembered for the wisdom it contained, a king who would become a byword for wisdom in every generation after him. A king whose understanding of the natures of all things, of plants and beasts and the deep workings of the world, would astonish the whole earth. The traditions say that this king too held the ancient book, and that from it, in part, his famous wisdom came. His name was Solomon, and his story with the book, and the secret names written in it, is where we will go next. But rest now, before we go on. Let the flood recede in your mind. Let the ark come to rest. Let the door open onto a quiet new morning. You are safe tonight, on dry and solid ground, far from any flood, held by the same God who held the ark upon the waters. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let the story carry you gently onward, the way the waters carried the ark, without effort, without fear, all the way toward the deep and peaceful rest that is waiting for you now. Part 5. How did the wisdom reach Solomon? Many generations after the flood, in the land that God had promised to his people, there rose up a king named Solomon, the son of David. And of all the kings who have ever reigned in any land, in any age, none has ever been so remembered for one particular gift. Solomon was remembered for his wisdom. It became the thing his name meant. To this very day, to call a person wise as Solomon is to say that their understanding is beyond the ordinary measure of men. The scriptures tell us where the heart of that wisdom came from. When Solomon was young, a newly made king, and overwhelmed by the weight of ruling a great people, God appeared to him and offered to give him whatever he would ask. And Solomon, the traditions love to remember, did not ask for riches or for long life or for victory over his enemies. He asked for wisdom. He asked for an understanding heart, to govern the people well and to know the difference between good and evil. And God was so pleased with the request that he granted it beyond all measure and gave him riches and honor besides. So the wisdom of Solomon was, first and deepest, a gift of God, given in answer to a humble prayer. But the traditions tell us that alongside that gift, in the hands of that God-given wisdom, there came also the ancient book. For the Book of Raziel, which had passed from Adam to Enoch to Noah and down the long thread of the faithful, made its way at last into the treasuries of the wisest king. And Solomon, whose heart had been opened by God to understand, read in it the deep things it contained, and his wisdom and the book fed one another, until his understanding of the world became a wonder to all who heard of it. What did the book teach the wisest of kings? The scriptures give us a glimpse of the reach of Solomon's understanding, and it reads almost like a description of the very contents of the ancient book. They tell us that Solomon spoke of the trees, from the great cedar to the small hyssop that grows out of the wall. They tell us that he spoke of the beasts, and of the birds, and of the creeping things, and of the fish. In other words, Solomon understood the natures of all living things. He knew the plants and their properties, which could heal and which could harm. He knew the ways of the animals, the habits of the birds, the secret order of the natural world. This is exactly the knowledge the traditions say was written in the Book of Raziel, the knowledge of the workings of creation, first given to Adam so that he could survive outside the garden. In Solomon, that same knowledge flowered into a wisdom so vast that kings and queens traveled from the ends of the earth simply to sit and listen to him speak. And Solomon understood more than the natures of plants and beasts. The traditions tell us that from the book he learned also the deeper things, the holy names, the orders of the angels, the structure of the heavens, and the authority that a righteous man could hold over the hidden powers of the world. It was said that his understanding reached even into the unseen realm, that the very spirits of the world were subject to his God-given wisdom. We will not linger on that part of his story tonight, for it is a tale of its own. What matters for us is simply this, that the same book, the same lamp lit by an angel for a weeping man, had become, generations later, the wellspring of the most famous wisdom in the history of the world. The gift kept giving, the light kept spreading. What had begun as one man's comfort in the dark had become a whole nation's glory and a wonder to all the earth. What were the holy names written in the book? We come now to the deepest and most mysterious part of the ancient book, the part that gave it its very name. For Raziel means the secret of God, and the greatest secret the book was said to contain was the knowledge of the holy names. To understand why this mattered so much to the ancient mind, you must understand how they thought about names. To us, a name is often just a label, a sound we use to call one another. But to the ancients, a name was something far deeper. A name was the very essence of a thing, its truth, its inmost nature made speakable. To know the true name of something was to know what it truly was. And so to know the holy names, the names of God and the names by which creation itself had been spoken into being, was to touch the very foundations of reality, the words that held the world together. The traditions say the book contained these names. The names by which the light was called out of the darkness, and the waters gathered, and the dry land raised up. The names of the powers that keep the stars in their courses, and the seasons in their turning. The names of the great angels who stand before the throne and carry out the will of heaven, and above all, woven through it all, the holy name of God himself, the name too sacred to be spoken lightly, the name that is the source and the ground of every other name that is. And here the traditions become very careful, and we should be careful with them, for this knowledge, they say, was the most powerful in the book, and therefore the most dangerous. To know the holy names was to hold something of enormous weight. In the hands of a humble and reverent soul like Adam who wept, like Enoch who worshipped, like Solomon who first asked God for an understanding heart, the knowledge of the names became a way of drawing near to God, a way of understanding the sacred order of the world, a way of worship. But in the hands of the proud, the grasping, the ones who wanted the names not to worship God but to command the world, the very same knowledge became a snare and a danger. And this is why the book was always meant to be a secret. Not because God delights in hiding good things from his children, but because some good things are so powerful that they can only safely be given to a heart that has first been made humble. The map of the heavens along with the holy names, the traditions tell us, the book contained a kind of map, a map not of the earth, but of the heavens. It showed the layers of heaven rising one above another, each with its own light, each with its own inhabitants, ascending level upon level toward the throne of God at the summit of all things. It named the orders of the angels and their offices, which of them watched over which parts of creation, which carried the prayers of men upward, and which carried the answers of God downward, which stood guard, and which sang praise, and which waited before the throne itself in unapproachable light. Why would a man need such a map? The traditions give a beautiful answer. He needed it so that he would never feel alone, and never feel that heaven was empty or far away. For a man who has read the map of the heavens knows that the sky above him is not a cold and vacant void, He knows that it is filled, level upon level, with the servants of God, with light and life and worship rising all the way to the throne. He knows that when he prays, his prayer does not vanish into nothing, but rises through those living heavens, carried upward by the very angels the book had named. He knows that he is watched over, that the world he cannot see is far fuller and far nearer than the world he can. And that knowledge, the traditions say, was itself a comfort, perhaps the greatest comfort the book contained. It was a way of restoring to fallen men some sense of the nearness of heaven that had been lost when the gate of Eden closed. So let that be the comfort you take from this deep and mysterious part of the story as you lie in the quiet dark tonight. Above you, though you cannot see it, the heavens rise, level upon level, filled with light and life, all the way up to the throne of the God who made you and who has never once looked away from you. You are not lying beneath an empty sky. You are lying beneath a living heaven, watched over, prayed for, held. The angels the old book named are not gone. The God at the summit of it all is not far. And your smallest prayer, your quietest longing, even the wordless ache of a tired heart at the end of a long day, rises up through all those living heavens and is heard at the top of them by the one who loves you. Let that quiet you now. You are watched over, you are held, you are not alone. The book had passed through the greatest of kings and had yielded up its deepest secret, the knowledge of the holy names and the map of the living heavens. But a question remains, the question that hangs over the whole story of this ancient and forbidden book. How is a soul meant to hold such knowledge without being destroyed by it? And what in the end became of the Book of Raziel? To those final questions we now come, as our story draws toward its close and toward the peace that waits for you at the end of it. Part 6. How should a book like this be read? We have followed the ancient book across the whole history of the early world, from the hands of Adam to the hands of Enoch, from Enoch through the flood with Noah, and down at last to the wisest of kings. And in every faithful keeper we have seen the same thing, the thing that kept the book a blessing and not a curse. Reverence, humility, the understanding that the knowledge was a gift, and that a gift points back to the giver. For the truth the whole story circles around is this. The Book of Raziel was never dangerous because of what it contained. It was only ever dangerous because of what a human heart might do with what it contained. The same knowledge that made Enoch humble could make a proud man arrogant. The same names that let Adam draw near to God could let a grasping man reach for a power he was never meant to hold. The book did not change. The heart that held it made all the difference. And so the deepest teaching of the whole tradition is not about secret names or hidden heavens at all. It is about the posture of the soul that would receive the good gifts of God. It is about the difference between the one who kneels and the one who grabs. The one who kneels receives everything as a gift and is made humble by it and gives thanks and draws nearer to God. The one who grabs seizes everything as a possession and is made proud by it and gives thanks to no one and drifts further from God with every new thing he takes. And here is the quiet warning the old book leaves us with, a warning as true tonight as it was in the days of Adam. It is possible to know a great deal and to be no nearer to God at all. It is possible to hold the deepest secrets and to have a heart that is far away. Knowledge alone does not save anyone. It never did. What matters is not how much you know, but whether what you know makes you humble or proud, grateful or grasping, nearer to God or further from Him. The wise are not those who know the most. The wise are those whose knowing has bowed them down in worship. And that is a gentle thing to remember at the end of a long day when perhaps you feel that you do not know enough, that you have not understood enough, that others seem to hold secrets and certainties that you lack. You do not need to know everything to be near to God. Adam did not earn the book by his understanding. He received it in his weeping. The nearness of God is not a prize for the clever. It is a gift for the humble, and the humble are simply those who know they need it. So you do not have to solve every mystery tonight. You do not have to understand the whole of your life before you are allowed to rest. You have only to do what Adam did, to kneel and to reach and to trust the mercy that comes down to meet you in the dark. What became of the Book of Raziel? And so we come to the last question, the one that has drawn seekers and dreamers for thousands of years. What became of the book? Where did it go after Solomon, after the wisest of kings had read its pages? Does it still exist somewhere, hidden, waiting to be found? The traditions give no single answer, and perhaps that is fitting, for a book of secrets should keep a few of its own. Some say it was hidden away, guarded by the faithful, passed down in secret through the ages the way it had always been passed. Some say it was lost, or taken up into heaven, or kept in a place no living hand can reach. For centuries, seekers have chased the rumor of it, hunting for the actual pages, the physical book, the object itself, certain that if they could only find it, they would hold the secrets of creation in their hands. But the traditions, in their wisest voices, seem to hint at something deeper than any hunt for an object. They seem to suggest that the true Book of Raziel was never really about the paper and the ink at all. The true book was the thing the paper pointed to. It was the knowledge that God has not abandoned the fallen world. It was the truth that heaven bends down to the weeping, that mercy is given to the undeserving, that the gate may be closed but the God beyond it is not. It was the promise that a man cut off from paradise can still find his way, in humility and reverence, back toward the presence of God. And that book, the real one, the one written not on pages but into the very fabric of God's dealing with his children, was never lost and never will be. It is open still. You are reading a page of it tonight. For everything the ancient book was said to contain, the mercy, the nearness, the way back to God, is still being offered to you right now in the quiet of this hour. You do not need to find a hidden manuscript. You do not need to decipher secret names. The deepest secret of the Book of Raziel was never a spell or a formula. It was this, that God loves the fallen and comes down to find them in the dark and gives them what they need to walk the long road home. That secret is not hidden in a cave or sunk in the sea. It is spoken over you every night if you have ears quiet enough to hear it. You are loved. You are not abandoned. The way home is open. Rest. What the book was really for, when you gather up the whole long story, from the tears of Adam to the wisdom of Solomon, one thread runs through all of it, and it is the thread the whole tradition was woven to carry. The book was never really about power, though it held power. It was never really about secrets, though it held secrets. From the very first night, when an angel came down through the dark to a weeping man outside a closed gate, the book was about one thing, and one thing only. It was about a way back. Adam had lost the nearness of God, and the book was given so that he could reach toward that nearness again. Enoch used it to walk so closely with God that he was taken up into his very presence. Noah used it to carry the light of God through the drowning of the world. Solomon used it to fill a kingdom with the knowledge of the God who made all things. In every hand, in every generation, the book did the same deep work. It brought fallen people nearer to God. That was what it was for. That is what all true wisdom is for. Not to make us clever, but to make us near. And that is what this night is for as well. Not to fill your head with ancient names and forgotten stories, though the stories are beautiful. It is to bring you, at the end of a long and tiring day, a little nearer to the God who made you and loves you and has never once looked away. The whole point of the book, the whole point of this quiet hour is the same. Come nearer, rest in his presence. Let the distance close. You are not outside the gate tonight. You are held in the very nearness the book was written to restore. A prayer before sleep. So let us pray now, gently, as we let the day go and sink down towards sleep. Lord God, maker of Adam and maker of us, we thank you for this ancient story and for the mercy that shines all the way through it. We thank you that you did not abandon the first man to his tears, but sent light down into his darkness. We thank you that the good gifts you give are not so easily lost as we fear, that what jealousy tried to drown, you raised up again, that what the flood tried to take, you carried through. We thank you that your wisdom has always led your children not to pride but to worship, not away from you but toward you. We are tired tonight, Lord, and small, and we do not understand everything, and we do not need to. We only ask what Adam asked, without words, kneeling in the dust. Come near to us. Do not let the gates that have closed in our lives make us believe that you have closed your heart. Send your peace down into our darkness the way you sent your light into his. Quiet our racing thoughts. Loosen the grip of our worries. Let your presence settle over us, warm and gentle as the glow that came down through the night, until every fear grows still and every burden grows light, and we rest, at last, in the nearness we were made for. Send your angels to watch over us as we sleep, the very angels the old book named, the ones who fill the living heavens above us. Guard our rest, guard our hearts. And let us wake in the morning nearer to you than we lay down, ready to walk one more day in your light, carrying the lamp of your mercy a little further down the long road home. We ask it all in the name of your mercy, which never fails and which is new every morning. Amen. And now, dear friends, sleep. The story is over, and you do not need to hold a single word of it. Let it go, the way Adam had to learn to let go, one slow breath at a time. Here, in this quiet place, night after night, we walk this old road together, through the mysteries of Scripture and the gentle reminders that heaven is never as far as it seems. If these stories bring you rest and you would like to keep walking this path with me, you are always welcome to subscribe so that tomorrow night, when the lights are low and the day is behind you, you will find me here again with another story to carry you down into sleep. Until then, let your eyes stay closed. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breathing slow. The angels keep watch over you tonight. The mercy that came down to Adam is bending over you now. And the God who has held every good thing safe through every flood is holding you this very moment in the quiet and the dark. You are watched over. You are loved beyond all measure. And you are not, and never will be, alone. Rest now. Sleep in peace. And may the Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face to shine upon you tonight and always. Good night.